Good evening. We continue to read the tale my grandfather left me. I decided to stay in grandfather's hut to fully enjoy its ambience. This book was written here, in these walls. I think that reading it will help me to feel the full depths of his research. So, let's begin. Another chapter is awaiting us. The Prince of Darkness. It is no longer a secret to anyone that we are not the only form of life in cosmos. But hardly anybody knows that often different types of galactic civilizations share one planet and make a special contract where they come to an agreement on how to use it. Thus, more than 7,500 years ago, an agreement was made that went into the history of Russia as Truce Created in Stars Temple. I remember Grandpa spoke about it. Although back then the leaders had to make a difficult choice. Any truce is indirect victory. Nobody would think to make truce with the losing side. These types of agreements are made in the case when one side is at the brink of losing and the other wants to stop the distractions. They're tired. Today, we saved only fractions of these events. They are described in many cultural monuments, also in religions, myths, and tales. In every case, it speaks of aliens coming to our planet. Snake-like, lizard-like extraterrestrial civilization, Anunnaki. Today, we call them reptilians. There are many proofs that these long-headed creatures lived on our planet, although official science tries to thoroughly hide it and calls it fantasies. Let's suppose those artifacts are real. Let it be a tale about how the history of mankind could develop if our ancestors came to a peace agreement with reptilians. The modern view of the world and Stars Temple differs from reality a bit, because the look on that moment is literal according to the connection of ancient people to gods. But we paint a different picture. Our fantasy brings us to other conclusions. Stars Temple is the orbit of planet Earth, because in Russia houses were called temples. If before there was one people living on the planet, then the whole Earth was a home or a temple. The three ninth kingdom described by the writer Pushkin consisted of three groups of star system. Each one had 9 inhabited planets, forming 27 planets. Thus, the solar system became one of 3 kingdoms, including planets Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Tiamat, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. All those planets had life and still have. Our spaceships are operating in Earth's frequency and are not capable to photograph those planets as inhabited. Although, if we tune in the devices on another wave frequency, then many mysteries would be revealed. The planets are located on a big disk and separated between each other with high-frequency field that is very difficult to penetrate, because our technology is not capable to change frequency waves of electrons and enter deep into torsion field that could open portals into other dimensions. The frequency range. But that doesn't mean that other galactic civilizations didn't reach this level of technology. This way, reptilians could find a way to enter other layers of the universe, planets, and to capture them. There were gates between worlds on the Earth. Reptilians used it to get to the planet the first time. Afterwards, they destroyed the ones on the surface and hid the ones which are underwater. I could find the map of portals, and would definitely show it to you in other chapters. Really, I flipped till to the end of the book. There is a map there. It has some dots written on it. I don't have all the keys to decipher this code yet. I hope very much that I find the keys, and I will be able to give the exact coordinates to the location of the snake's eye. I've been wondering why he wrote his last word and this book on this island, Socotra. Perhaps it is one of his keys. According to Sumerian scriptures, the battle for Earth spilled a lot of blood. At first, the army unit of Anunnaki landed on the Urals mountains, but the local civilization of white magicians powerfully fought them off. The aliens had to run south. Since then, there is a saying in Russian: to run tail between legs. And Sumerian texts have a warning that one should not go to northern lands, because people who live there don't know neither fear nor sin. Reptilians had settled in Mesopotamia. Later they will conquer whole Egypt and almost whole Europe. Arabian Peninsula will come on China and will destroy the population of South and North America by this time. If Sumerian clay tablets are to be believed, this whole territory used to be like a paradise garden, with deep rivers, lakes, dense plants. God representatives of extraterrestrial civilization of reptilians offered to the local people their high technology in exchange of serving them. According to Sumerian literature, reptilians used to represent very highly developed culture. They had a huge cosmic armada and moved easily from planet to planet. They built their first city on the territory of modern Turkey. Even now, the name of a city holds the most terrible secret of mankind: unconscious slavery. The city name is Ankara, in honor of Anu, the supreme god of Anunnaki, that brought Kara or punishment to earth. How beautiful! Ankara, Kara of Anu. This punishment is the right for karma, because only this program can return consciousness to the matrix again and again. Northern people didn't sin, were free in the full meaning of the word, because somebody who does not sin does not have kara or punishment. For local people, gods seemed out of reach. They managed to tempt people into the lowest and insidious feelings. They destroyed Vedic knowledge and brought their literature, language, mathematics, calendar, agriculture, and views about the planet and cosmos. Aliens were very lucky that people of this region accepted them, because those people were exiled from northern lands as a punishment for not keeping cons, the laws. Of course, then it was all about traditions. Nobody had any thinking of robbing, killing, lying, although reptilians could play on the grievances of those people and make them aggressive. Now they had an opportunity, thanks to cosmic patterns, to revenge northern people. Enki ordered people to record everything they learned on Earth. He explained that the knowledge will be kept after death, which will perpetuate its value. Therefore, he was like a scientist studying everything what people studied. At the same time, he brought their consciousness to the level of laziness and inability to memorize. One day, people became so dependent on him that they came with a request to enlighten them. Enki would speak whatever he decided was right, and they believed every word and did not doubt anything. It was the beginning of enslavement of the mind. Anunnaki came with a large expedition, including the supreme god Anu and two of his sons. Enki, scientist, geneticist, and a doctor, and also Enlil, technical service manager and an heir to the throne. Enki immediately began studying natural resources of the planet and also genetic modernization of local people. On the territory of modern Iran, he opened the largest in the history of mankind laboratory, which he called Ethem. Here, together with his wife, he was making selections, studying suitability of natural resources, its biological and technological features for applying or future sale. He would crossbreed humans and horses, bulls, lions, dogs, snakes, creating an army. Later, his wife will help him to give birth to Adam, the first human on earth, and their descendants with the genes of Lilith, Eve. It's known that Bible describes Lilith as a lizard-like creature with demonic origin, but it doesn't clarify that she became mother to Adam by carrying an egg fertilized by Enki. So, the genetic line of this nation leads only to one woman. The war with northern lands has been going on. All military operations were ruled by Marduk, son of Enki, grandson of Anu, and Lil would scan the earth and search artifacts needed for Enki and natural resources. Anu launched the Pandora box on the planet, which consisted of 4 deadly pathogens: viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites. People began to get sick, weak, and lose part of their magic abilities. But most terribly, they began to die too early. Only those created by Enki in his laboratory at Hem had an antidote. The length of life on the planet shortened a lot, although there was hope for healing power of herbs and use-giving trees. Therefore, the war with northern people would be not effective, because Asis were good at quackery. Those who did die would be incarnated in the Matrix with erased memory and lost magical powers. Everything was more or less successful for reptilians, not to count those use giving up, of course. Until one day Marduk disobeyed the supreme leader of army of Anunnaki, the supreme god and grandfather Anu. Marduk was obsessed with the desire to destroy northern people, who fought off and defeated his army in Ural Mountains. Therefore, he applied climatic weapon and froze most of the territory of ancient Russia, which destroyed healing herbs. Anu was enraged because this interference into the planet's ecology has led to worse weather conditions for resource mining and also had an impact on the frequency range, pressure, and magnetic field of the planet. Remember the first ice age? He considered Marduk's move as reckless and hasty, because the ice did not allow to reach the depths even during the occupation of territories. A few thousand years was needed to develop these territories. It became practically impossible to stay on the planet. Therefore, the operation had to be curtailed, and they needed to return back to the spaceship Nibiru. Enlil, Enki, and Marduk stayed in the orbit, to be more precise, on the spaceship Lela. And Anu, with the most part of the civilization, flew away to other planets. As was told by Sumerian gods to people, the period of moving their spaceship around the sun is 3,600 years. And so, during this time, before Father's return, it was needed to restore works and continue mining gold and other natural resources. During this time, Marduk pushed back northern people to present China and India and attacked them with nuclear bombs. Enki decided to crossbreed genes of local white people with the genes of his wife, Ninmah, and create a new race which would not only serve the interests of reptilians, but also would help mining resources. Sumerian scriptures describe in details how Enki created his first people from the dust of earth. He passed on to them all the knowledge, also told them about the plans of reptilians, and asked them to keep the secret for centuries. To seal this deal, he created several myths and texts which they were supposed to honor as something sacred, and he introduced symbols that would remind about the importance of their mission. In return, he promised his protection and blessings, and also intact memory after reincarnation. Meanwhile, Enlil has been searching other continents and found useful resources in North and South America. The army of Marduk quietly came with spaceships and destroyed local people. They disappeared in an instant, as if they never existed. All the artifacts of ancient Vedic culture, as well as the scriptures, has been stolen and destroyed. The history was rewritten, and the earth was inhabited by slaves brought from other ruined planets. On the territory of fragrant plants and rivers in Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Central Africa was extraction of fruitful resources and soil. These territories were turned into a desert. Almost all seas and oceans were dug in search first of all for gold. North America, Central and West Africa, India was one of the largest quarry for mining minerals and metals. Business was in full swing, so to speak. All what they stole they would bring to the orbital spaceship Fata. Now this world gives meaning to the word Fatum, or destiny. For this was the goal of Anunnaki, collecting useful resources. Marduk again lost the battle to Northern people, who managed to return to the territory of their lands. The ice began to melt, and Russians began the construction of the biggest protection wall. They gave it magic qualities, which didn't allow to pilot enemy ships. It gave protection from the air attacks. Our ancestors managed to build a huge shelter in Omsk. A huge cosmoport was built which allowed traveling to other planets. Therefore, it's very likely that part of people were evacuated from the Earth. Our cosmoports in Peru and Texas got captured. One hope was left for Omsk. In those distant times it was called the same as the capital Asgard, and was located at the bottom of the river Irish in Tishraish, the present Irtish. Our ancestors made a desperate move. They exploded one of the ships of Anunnaki, Lela. Its wreckage fell into the Atlantic Ocean and damaged one of Marduk's pits near South America. This dot is on the map too. I will show you a bit later. When Anu returned to the planet, Enlil loaded on Nibiru that what he could extract, but it was too little. Anu stripped his oldest son Enki of the title of heir to the throne and passed it on to Enlil. It enraged Marduk even more, because now he fully lost the right for the throne. From this time on began the history of the Prince of Darkness. Anu called for a council and ordered to destroy all inhabitants, including all those created by Enki. Anu wanted to stop the mission because in Cosmos rumors began to spread about the defeat of the most mighty plant. But Enki could not allow death of his children, the people who's got genes of reptilians, who serves Anunnaki's interests. Enki stole laser weapon from Enlil as well as several spaceships, and together with his son Marduk landed on Earth and closed the gates between worlds. Now neither Anu nor Enlil could get to the planet. Thus the wave range did not allow reptilians to walk freely and enjoy the beauty of the world on Earth. They could only exist on board of the spaceship, or dressed and spacesuits. Anu could not forgive the betrayal of his son and grandson and ordered to destroy Fatu by crashing this huge spaceship on the planet. Thus, Anunnaki was left with only one ship in the orbit, the Moon, which was keeping the frequency range of the Matrix. Enki uncovered his father's plan on time and decided to save the world he created, all animals, plants, and the people he created. All 144,000 of them he lifted up in the sky. Meanwhile, Anu crushed Fatu in the Atlantic Ocean and raised a huge wave which flooded the whole planet. That's what was the reason for the Great Flood. It's amazing how history of Sumer matches the Bible. Do you remember? Noah also saved people, exactly from the Great Flood. Anu knew very well that after death, people's soul would go into the circle of reincarnation, and at that moment they could be caught into the trap of time and turn against Marduk and Enki. One of Anu's talents was control of time. There is a reason he was called God of Numbers in Russia. He hoped to finally stop the war by erasing memory of all population of the planet and continue mining the resources. especially because biological bodies are also very useful and give them fuel and food. Marduk came up with a special mission. He had his own ship not far from Mars. He took course on Tiamat, the planet between Mars and Jupiter. It was long ago captured by Anunnaki and was their base in the solar system. The ship destroyed it, crushed it in few pieces. Thus, in Sumerian scriptures, the planet Pluto appeared, and many asteroids, including Heron, Pazirpina, as well as the legend of Arahu and Kedu. At the moment of the explosion, Anu and many other gods were on Tiamat. The story in Sumer is called the Battle of Titans, and it's in the culture of all nations as the fall of Olympus, the pantheon of gods. Only Enlil and his colleagues survived while staying on the moon that time, as well as Marduk, Ninmah, Enki on the earth. People who survived the war created a militia. Those who Enki saved in the ships he brought to several continents, populating North and South America, Africa, partially Europe and Australia, Asia, and Great Tartaria. In Vedic history books still belonged to the northern people. The war was practically finished because Enki and Marduk got what they wanted, land. Enlil could not break through the frequency shield. Anu died, and 60% of the planet's territory was in Anunnaki's hands, although the mission was not completed. Enki and Enlil came to the conclusion that extracting resources must go on, but passing it over would be now under their control and on their terms. A truce was made in the Star Temple with northern people, who they called victorious. According to it, there will be no more attack because the earth became a prison for Enki, Ninmah, and Marduk. Nowhere to run. According to this agreement, Marduk keeps the ecosystem of the planet and does not use alien weapons. People were left with destroyed ecosystem, a lot of viruses and bacteria, fungus and parasites, but got the right of free will. It became a trap, because a person's will can be influenced in other ways, especially since the people have lost strength of spirit. It was 7,500 years ago, and approximately 5,500 years ago people had lost the willpower and freedom, with fake Peter I who helped with it. That's why he changed the calendar and rewrote the course of world's history. With cunning, Marduk and Enki made people fight with each other, manipulated them. Now they created wars and destructions with the hands of people themselves, which did not go against the agreement. Their servants, the army created to help with the extraction of resources, moved through the continent, and after abduction of real Peter I, they finally gained power over Russia. The wall has fallen. Corruption, lies, murder, betrayal, ignorance, and many other sins overwhelmed Russian land. Language, literature, Vedic culture, and even history was destroyed, as well as the truth created in Star's temple. Enlil stayed on the base close to Earth, the moon, to keep up the work of the Matrix, so that people's brain wouldn't remember their history after reincarnation. Enlil sent strong radiation and lowered frequency range of the brain to the limit that people can live and study minimum science, make the simplest task, but they are unable to remember neither their origin and the right for the planet, nor develop science of extraterrestrial travel, overcome gravitational field, nor can they use torsion portals and call for help their allies. The frequency range does not allow Enlil to go to the planet because the range is still too high. The moon became his home and throne at the same time, or mostly its other side. It's a very wise step because his relatives will get and give him resources by using their servants, and he will look into other corners of the universe. Now that the earth became a prison and a trap, it's gotten even easier. The betrayer and the thief Enki Enlil locked in an abiotic sleep in a spaceship and put him at the bottom of the Black Sea. And he's done it in a very smart way. He convinced Ninmah, remember it's the wife of Enki, to poison her husband. In return, Enlil allowed her to leave the planet. Now Enki's become the king of the earth, while Enlil was the king of heavens. People told legends about Enki and called him Prometheus. Marduk can resurrect his father only in the end of times. That is the effect of the poison. Knowing that, Enki gave up the throne and passed it over to Marduk. Now he owns the planet Earth, and he is the Prince of Darkness. Unlike Enki, who wakes up once every 100 years, Marduk has an opportunity to move freely about the planet and its underground bases, but inside of a spaceship. Although people's eyes are not capable to perceive the frequency range where Anunnaki's bodies exist, therefore he gave his servants information about how at the end of a period, before the beginning of the harvest, to open the wave frequency door. Thus, people will be able to see Marduk, their king, in his full physical form. He will collect the resources, save his servants, and to others he will bring cataclysms, starvation, and wars. Every time servants choose a new scenario for life. Kings, actors, bankers. They get wealth, abundance, and life for their own pleasure. But there is one condition: getting natural resources and keeping up lies in the minds of local populated people who wouldn't even ask. Where do millions tons of resources disappear extracted every year? Where are the golden bridges, diamond glasses? Where is marble stairs in the hallways of their houses, cells, copper cars inlaid with precious stones, and many other resources? Where do trillions tons of oil disappear? Where do people disappear? Hundreds of thousands of them every year. Why so many prohibitions on studying the depths of the sea, cosmos, Arctic, Antarctica? In the beginning of a century, apostles must start a revolution, then epidemic, and a few massive wars. All this is that in the 50s of every century to hand over planet's resources, to restart the matrix and plug it all over for the next 100 years. Marduk left marks about his location on the map so that his servants could prepare the planet for his arrival. Also detailed instructions about how to lower the frequency range. Every time the Prince of Darkness comes to Earth to put a comma in his very cunning plan. All events and the plan described in the revelation of Ioan Bogoslov. Also in the legends and myths of ancient world. All details are carefully hidden from people and passed by words in the secret lodges of occult shady organizations all over the world. Yes, of course it's much more detailed than that information I read from ancient Sumerian texts. All this reminds biblical stories a lot, as well as myths of ancient Greece, China, India, and other countries. It appears that our planet has been captured 7,500 years ago, and the truth in the star's temple is not so peaceful. We were just allowed to live in this matrix with all those bacteria, viruses, wars, every time to die and every time to reincarnate with erased memory. But our ancestors had lived for 1,000 years. They remembered everything. They would develop. At least it's clear now why we forget everything, why the history is so distorted and we cannot even restore now. And most importantly, Even studying the ancient Vedic Russian culture, for some reason, is considered forbidden. It seems that on one hand we know about the existence of aliens from other planets because it's stupid to think that we are the only intelligent beings in the solar system even. Now it's clear. Every time for every 100 years he comes. Therefore, in the revelation of Ion Bogoslov, it's written so clear and detailed. It's an instruction, and it says that soon, in our time, he will come again, and maybe this time we'll be able to stop him. Grandpa precisely left this message, this book, to stop the war. The snake's eye, it's the very place from which Marduk will come. And if we know where it is, then maybe we can stop everything to prevent the destruction of the planet. But unfortunately, all other chapters are encrypted. They are written in a language that I cannot read. Yet, in the end of the chapter, as he promised, he left a riddle. The answer will help to decipher the next chapter. I will not manage. That's why I'm asking you to help me. Leave your comment. Perhaps your answer is the very key that will allow to uncover the next chapter. It's titled Cards on the Table. It means it describes the plan, how to lower the frequency range, how let it all happen. Most importantly, the horsemen of the apocalypse. There are many more than we are told. They are not 4, they are 7. All those seals, they are opening already. Then in these chapters we can find the answer. But the riddle is too difficult. In the very center of the pyramid, there is a letter, and it holds the answer. Sounds affect magnets, and they affect the whole world. If you know what it is, let me know, because maybe it's the key to our freedom. It's late, time to go to sleep. Tomorrow I'm sure the answer will come to us, and we'll be able to open the next chapter, and to read it, and to find answers. Good night. This tale speaks not only about the time periods and reasons of the capture of planet Earth and making it a plantation for reptilians, but also about the conspiracy of the world's elite, their plans for the harvest realized every 100 years. That's why in the next chapter we will tell you how the Earth became their home and how they managed, by using their servants, to bring the population to destruction. Maps of military bases, extraterrestrial technologies, the horsemen of the apocalypse, and Enerbe, and many more mysteries of mankind will be uncovered in this tale.